just tried the Flex impact driver and was completely disappointed. But this brand keeps showing up as a disruptor to the big three. I was let down once, but maybe it was a fluke. So in good faith, I'm trying this cordless circular saw. Let's see how it goes, but I'm not holding my breath. I am not using that drill.
Wait a dang minute. He didn't use the right mode in the video, even though we read the manual.
To be fair, I want to read the directions and see if I'm doing something wrong here.
I think it was just a thing where he didn't realize he was pressing the wrong button, as it was a first impressions video. I think we need to give this drill another shot.
All right, guys, what we have here is the Flex cordless circular saw. Model number FX2141. We do have a DeWalt saw here as well for comparison's sake. So we'll try them both, but let's just get into the features of this saw first. The things I like about it. Well, I like the fact that it has an onboard tool changing wrench. So that's always nice when you need to change a blade and there's one on board. Nowadays you have speed squares that fit this nut, all that stuff. It's still cool to have an onboard tool. So that nest right here. Another thing I like is it has a spring-loaded clip that's installed in the base plate of the saw, so it kind of locks it into place. See that? And it is kind of a challenge. Oh, there's like 2 different spots that it can lock in. It's in there pretty good, so it's not like it's just gonna fall out when you use it, which is always a good thing, okay? All right, for safety, we'll take the battery off. We are comparing this saw today with the 6 amp hour battery made by Flex. There's a guard on the saw, like every saw has, all right? That's for safety purposes. This does have the ability to turn up to 45 degrees. It locks into place. You can see the gauge right here, which reads over to 45 degrees, okay? It's in 1 degree increments, which is kind of nice. So you can really dial in on the angle that you might need to cut. This saw pivots to the left. It's completely opposite of a rear handle saw, but it's for cordless purposes, it might suit your needs. If you need to make more than a 45 degree cut, you can twist this knob right here, and it'll allow you to go all the way up to a 56 degree angle, which again is quite nice. I'm impressed with some of these cordless technology that's coming out in some of these tools that allows you to make a steeper cut if you need it, because there's oftentimes you have to go past a 45 degree angle. But for today, probably not. Okay, so we're just gonna lock it back. Once you turn this switch back, it locks back at 45. At least you have the ability to lock in at a 45. We're gonna keep it at 90 for now, or 0 degrees, okay? There's an indicator line right here, 0. You could follow this notch if you're trying to cut a straight line, or if you're cutting on a 45 degree line, you can follow this line here. So there are 2 line indicators, which is also nice, because a lot of times when I'm cutting long run of something, I will use this gauge once I dial it in and I figure out where to put the saw in relationship to my line. Sometimes these aren't quite right. Here's a quick tip for you guys. If you cut a lot with any saw, and this line isn't suiting your needs, I'll take a grinder and I'll grind this away to make it fit the way I want to cut that line. Maybe you want to leave the chalk. Let's say you're chalking a line, or you pencil a line, whatever, but you're cutting and it's overcutting the line. I've had this problem before on other saws. I didn't like it. I want to cut the middle of the chalk line, or I want to cut right on the edge. Sometimes you have to adjust this plate, but you only get one crack at making it right. So if this doesn't suit your need, then either you mark the plate, you can cut a different V-groove in this aluminum, or you can notch this back a little bit to make that saw cut the way you want it. I do that kind of thing all the time with what I do. Okay, the saw also has a rafter hook, which I find kind of handy. Like maybe you can even put it horizontal instead of vertical, and it'll hang the saw. This comes in really handy when you're cutting elevated, like if it'll fit over a joist on a deck or whatever, right? So I always like rafter hooks, and it's conveniently placed and it's easy to use. Boom, boom. It's got a little handle on the front, which sometimes comes in handy. Here's the blade lock right here. So you push that in and you spin the blade until it locks into place. Now you can change the blade or release the nut without the blade spinning, okay? Don't use this while you're using the saw. That's bad. Don't do that, okay? There's a depth gauge right here. So if you want to possibly go full depth, there you go, lock it in. It will not move out. But you can also pull back on this. There looks like there's a few degree measurements, and here's a little, there's a line right here for depth. So this is like, if you're cutting a 2x, I can't even read that. I'm upside down. Do you see what that says, Cal? 2x? So you're cutting 2x materials here. Okay, that says 3/4. Okay, so let's lock it in. So if you want to go 3/4 deep, and the battery is removed off the saw, guys, for safety, we're at 1 inch. Maybe that's not the mark. Okay, I see some other marks. I thought maybe we went off this white mark. This white indicator mark would make sense to me to go off of this, but that's not gonna work. There's an indentation right here. Maybe that's 3/4. Let's try that. Okay, that's not the mark. So, okay, tell you what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'll set this out at 3/4 of an inch, and let's see if any marks line up at all. Okay, that's a little over 3/4, but something ought to be close. It is this white line, but it's a little shy. If I line this up exactly at 3/4, and the line's right here underneath the number, okay? So I'll lock it in at 3/4, 7/8. Strike two. To be fair, let's go to the manual. Align the notch on the depth bracket with the desired depth of cut mark on the upper guard and tighten the depth adjustment lever. Well, that's what we did, and it's cutting deeper than we want. The only thing I could think of in Flex's defense is if you want to cut all the way through the board and just barely get through it, they set it so that it cuts an 1/8 inch deeper than actual cut. So here's my suggestion to you. Double check with one of these, because maybe you don't want it to cut 7/8, you want it to cut 3/4. What if you're cutting a dado and you're trying to cut 3/4 deep? You don't want to set the saw at 3/4 and it cuts 7/8 inch deep. You want it to cut 3/4 deep. So it's on you. I just wouldn't trust it. I don't really use those anyways. I really don't know anybody that does. I was just showing you the feature of the saw, which sucks. So don't use it. Just trust me and use a tape measure. Okay, I think it's brushless as far as the motor goes. I don't know about RPMs and all that stuff. If you're interested in that, you can go to the Flex webpage. I think we already told you what the model number of the saw is at the beginning of the video. Okay, I did purchase this at Lowe's Home Improvement, by the way. So there's the features of the saw. Let's see how it cuts. And then we're gonna do a comparison to the DeWalt saw in a similar situation with the same amp hour battery, fully charged, so on and so forth. The one thing is, you could say, okay, if I just want to cut through a 2x4 and I don't want a lot of extra material or saw blade hanging out, then you could set it to the 2x, and I bet you it's 1 5/8 inches. So let's just double check. 1 3/4. Okay, who cares? We're gonna pull this thing down as far as possible. At least I know that on a double cut, you're gonna get through a 4x4 with 2 cuts if you want. The full depth of the cut, according to my tape measure, is 2.5 inches. Maybe 2 9/16. We'll say 2.5. And we're gonna leave it on a full 2.5. So here we go. I'm just gonna cut a chunk of this 4x4 off. Seems to have plenty of power, and it's cutting full depth, like all the way, almost all the way through this. Okay, cool. And so this is gonna easily cut through this 4x4. Piece of cake. Plenty of power. Okay, let's do this. I got a couple knots in this 4x4, so that's good. And we'll just try to cut a straight line. Here's another quick tip for you guys. If you use treated lumber and it's incised, usually the incisions are pretty square to the 4x4 or whatever unit of lumber you're using, but the incisions are usually square and they're perpendicular with the board. So if you can follow these as a mock-up line or a fake line on the piece you're cutting, and that's what I'm gonna do today, is I'm going to rip a line full depth on this saw and see how it cuts all the way through. Now remember, brand new tool, brand new blade, has 2 cuts on it. It's brand new, so I don't know if I want to use it for a couple weeks and then show you the tool. I just want to show you what it does brand new, so what you can expect from it right out of the box. So here's my 0 degree line indicator. I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna follow that, and I'm gonna follow this line. It's a little faint, but I can still see all these incisions, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. Oh, there is a safety right here you gotta use when you're, like, if you don't push in on the side of this, the blade will lock, okay? Just so you know. All right, so here we go. I'm following this line indicator with my incisions, and let's see how well it cuts. Not bad, not bad at all. So for comparison's sake, I'm gonna grab this DeWalt, which is a very similar saw, same size, same amp hour battery, all that stuff. This saw did bog down a little bit, but it got through it just fine. It had plenty of power. So far, so good. And I'm just gonna run this saw. I'm gonna pick another line. Well, in my opinion, I'm gonna give it to this saw. It had more power and it spun up at a higher revolution or higher RPM than the DeWalt saw did. It just felt a little bit better coming through it. And when I started to put the pain to it, it just wanted to keep going. So for fun or for safety's sake or whatever you wanna call it, I'm gonna go ahead and make a couple more cuts as a comparison. And then you guys decide too, because hopefully you can hear the audio and you can hear the saw and you can kind of hear what's going on here. Let me make 2 more cuts. So I did forget a cross cut with this saw just so you guys could see the difference. Here goes that. Okay. It did fine, but it is a lower RPM saw. I really do like the power coming out of this Flex. Just for giggles, let's just cut one more line with each saw, because this is really the test. I'm burying the blade all the way into this 4x4 and I'm going for it. I'm not really using this saw for accuracy or fine finish work. I'm kind of using this more as a framing saw, which it might be a great framer for decks because you're just hooking it to a joist and you're just making joist cuts with it and things like that. Probably a little bit lighter than a rear handle saw. In my professional opinion, I'm probably always gonna pick up a rear handle saw, but sometimes we use these style saws for demolition and quick work. Things we just need to get handled and done right away. So let me go ahead.
Is that cutting the same depth?
Well, the other one was 2.5. Yeah, same depth of cut, 2.5 inches. And just for comparison's sake, well, it looks to me like the Flex is actually cutting a little bit deeper than the DeWalt saw. So you gotta give it to the Flex because you're taking another 1/4 inch of material with more power. Huh. I'll be honest, guys, I was really disappointed with their impact driver, but they're gaining me back a little bit on this saw. I do like this rear handle saw. So one more cut. We'll start with the DeWalt this time, and then we'll go to the Flex. And we'll just do, I'm just gonna go right, one do the other. I'm not gonna talk, I'm just gonna cut. All right, you can see when I started giving it more effort, it really started to bog down. I'm gonna do the same thing with this. I'm gonna make 3/4 of a cut and then I'm really gonna give it some juice and see if I can get it to, even though I said I wasn't gonna talk, I'm gonna talk, okay. Man. Okay, here's your winner. Chicken dinner. It's a burly saw. It has a lot of power. It cuts really hard through stuff, doesn't bog down, so I really like that. And that's something that I can get behind. This tool in particular, this is the FX2141. Not a bad tool. So this might be a good one to add to your arsenal. If you have this battery platform and you want to use it, I would endorse this tool. Thanks for watching this one. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. Don't forget to go check out our podcast, which a link below for that as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.